and great also to get the company of my lovely guest today, joining me in the studio all this morning, Andre Walker, Conservative commentator, Conservative with a small C and a big C, I think more of the big C actually, but on a day when obviously predictions of plus 40 degree temperatures, and I think we're all going to die today. So I just want you to know, the last 6 years you've been joining us at Talk Radio, or even if it's just a few weeks or months here at Talk TV, I just want to thank you for being part of our family for this short time before we all face Armageddon sometime this afternoon when temperatures do or don't hit 40 degrees. But you can tell it's not really a disaster. You can tell it's not really a crisis, because Andre Walker has decided to turn up in not just a suit today, but a three-piece suit.
It never crossed my mind, honestly.
Well, I love it. I mean, you and Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Hang on a second. It was 4 a.m. when I got up to get ready. It genuinely didn't cross my mind.
It was already hot at 4 a.m.
Well, I get that. I mean, I think I should be okay. I mean, if all you find is a pan of lard on the floor later, then it obviously was a bit too warm.
There's an image for everybody this morning. I'm afraid if you are watching, I've got rather more flesh on display when I look at the camera than I'd perhaps planned. But hello, anyway. I mean, the hysteria, I have to say, all day yesterday, I flick around the channels. I always like to know what the competition is doing. And other than, for no good reason, a trip to IKEA yesterday, which, to be fair, my daughter was quite right, already finished school, quite right, actually, of all the days, no traffic on the streets, no queue, get straight into the car park. It was actually relatively air-conned, and there wasn't a special offer on screaming children in trolleys as there normally is if you go on a weekend. So it was actually quite pleasant. But we did a great job. Other than that, it was just a question of, try and do as little as possible, do it slowly, try and stay in the coolest room in the house, put a fan on. I realise that a lot of people do have homes which are just unbearably hot, and that doesn't really work. But the hysteria, the complete and utter losing our minds, we're all going to die, this is what life's going to be like, Britain can't cope, some planes couldn't take off at Luton Airport or Brize Norton, and some trains had to go slowly. I mean, calm the hell down, everybody.
But it's part of a wider message, isn't it? When you look at all these weather reports, what we used to see was these suns here, there, and the temperatures. Now you see the crimson all over the place.
And that is fascinating when you look at the same temperatures. So when it's been just in the 30s, the same temperatures on a forecast from 10, 20 30 years ago, or even 5 years ago even, actually, compared to now, the colour scheme they've chosen, you're into just, I mean, I don't know why they don't just do black. Just, you know what I mean? So it's not a sort of pale yellow, darker orange, and then, and going up and a little bit of red if it hits 30. It's now just sort of deep red and just black.
Well, just skull and bones.
Yes.
with the number
why don't they just write, we're all going to die?
I find it really sad, and I find it particularly sad when you saw the Extinction Rebellion protest a while ago with teenagers going around singing the "You'll die of old age, I'll die of climate change" thing. And I think it's genuinely abusive to treat people in this way. It isn't necessarily very pleasant to try and get to sleep in this heat, but for the vast majority of us, as long as you put a bit of sunscreen on and have a glass of water ready, you'll be perfectly fine.
Don't sit in them. We've got a lovely garden, but I haven't sat out it at all the last 2 days because it is just too hot. By the time it's cool enough, frankly, that's bedtime for me, given my hours. But this is it. I mean, it's 2 days, and everyone's saying this is completely different. BBC obsessed with this is completely different from the 1976 heatwave. Well, the thing about the 1976 heatwave, it wasn't as hot, accepted. However, people didn't have, access to fans. I mean, buying a fan would have been a major household expense, whereas now, for most households, except for some households, 10, 15 quid is a huge amount of money, but for most households, it isn't, and people have had a few heat waves enough before they might have a couple of fans in the cupboard anyway. But for most people, it's not. You're not. I mean, sorry, these people with 400 quid Dysons and things, you can buy a fan at your local hardware store, 15 quid. It works very, very well for years on end. But this is the thing. It's not the same as that. So it is hotter, but we do actually have more mechanisms for dealing with this. But also, I mean, crucially, it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks on end in 76. We're going to have sort of temperatures in the 20s for weeks on end. Lovely, brilliant. We dream of summers like this. And then if a week or two of the 30s, and then a day max, if that. I mean, frankly, I will laugh my backside off if we don't hit over 40, because the faces on the BBC and the Sky reporters, they're going to be gutted, aren't they? They're going to be absolutely gutted.
Well, no, because then they'll find some reason, won't they? Because, you know, we talked about global warming, then we talked about climate change. If the temperature goes up or down, then that is evidence of something. I mean, the whole thing is just a complete joke. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I think people should go out and have some fun. I will tell you, as somebody who's from near Warrington, going to IKEA, I think is madness.
Just genuinely.
That town was under siege for 20 years from motorists attempting to get to IKEA on a Saturday.
But it is all part of the whole hysteria industry now, isn't it?
Yes.
And it is quasi-religious. The green hysteria. We're all going to die. No, you're not. I mean, it's a simple matter of fact. Anyone claiming they're going to die from climate change, they're not. We've had an over 95% fall in the number of deaths of people from climate disasters in the last century.
Yes.
Because people used to routinely die from hurricanes and droughts and things like that. No, people don't. People don't die from these extreme weather events anymore. We've got some Saharan hot air that's come up. I know, yes, it's getting warmer, and they go, with record temperatures since records began. What, 100 years ago?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of evidence that actually a lot of the ways they do these temperatures are... Look, there's no doubt at all we're in a heat wave right now, but a lot of the way they do these temperatures are questionable in terms of, what a surprise if you have a thermometer basically next to the tarmac on Heathrow with jet engines putting out, huge amounts of heat, and tarmac soaking up heat and emanating it back. And city centres, of course, being much hotter than the countryside. Of course they are. You're going to see more urban areas. You're going to see temperatures rise in those areas. Does that mean the global temperature is an issue for human beings? No, it really, really doesn't. And I really do think that this ties in with still COVID hysteria.